Hello, everyone. My name is Deborah Hernandez, and my informative speech is how to bake a cake step by step. Did you know that the invention of the cake originated in ancient Egypt as a round, flat, unveiled, just a piece of bread, as you might say today, with they would add like nuts or honey or something to make it a little bit more tasteful besides just bread on its own. Nowadays, it has advanced and become very popular. You can add almost anything, you can bake anything as long as you enjoy it or anybody else who enjoys it. Well, that's very good. Now, how to bake a cake step by step. Today, I will be saying something on. I love to bake cakes. I've been baking since I was like 6 years old. Um, of course, back then I didn't bake as well, but you learn as you go and you can add your own ingredients. And I love to make things from scratch, not from the box. There's nothing wrong with the box cake. Sometimes they come out real good, but I just like to throw stuff in there, whip it up, and I really don't measure too much. I just go off of what I've already done in the past. And I know everybody loves something delicious once in a while. So, baking a cake step by step. This is what I am going to be informing you how to do, or how I do it in case you want to do it that way, or you could do it whichever way. Okay, so your first step, of course, you're gonna have to get all your ingredients together. I picked one of my favorite pies that I bake or cake. It's a pumpkin pie cheesecake. And with the holidays here, I've already baked like 4 or 5 of them. I do bake to sell as well, and I make everything from scratch. So on this particular one, you will need 24 ounces of cream cheese, and it has to be thawed out, room temperature. I prefer the Philadelphia brand, but you can use any brand. To me, it's just the texture tastes better once it's already baked. You'll need a 15-ounce can of pumpkin pie mix. And on that one, you can use the Libby's, you can use the HEB. I use the HEB one because it's almost the same thing and it's a lot cheaper. You'll need some packed light brown sugar. It's only 1.5 cups. That's what I use for mine, more or less. And I 4 large eggs, but they have to be room temperature as well. Something in the mixture, it doesn't grasp it as good if it's cold from the fridge. Then you'll need like 1/4 cup of sour cream. Any sour cream is fine. 2 tablespoons of flour. I always use Peter Pan flour, but that's my choice. You can use any flour. 1 tablespoon of the real vanilla extract. To me, I've always used the one from Mexico because it's right here across the border. So, and I just like that taste, that texture, and it gives the cakes and everything. If you bake with that, it just makes them so much better. The taste on it is great. And then if you would like to make your own crust, which I personally do, you will need the following as well, which you will need like 12 whole graham crackers. I use the cinnamon honey made graham crackers, which will be equivalent to 1.5 cups. What I do with them is I put them all in a bowl and I get everybody should have one that cooks the smasher for the beans. So I'm there like smashing them down because I don't want them too um, like powdery like. I like a little bit of crust, a little bit of pieces of the honey made graham crackers on the bottom. And then you take the 3/4 stick of unsalted butter. It has to be unsalted butter so it will not take away from the flavor. Because if you use the salted butter, it will taste real salty and it's not gonna mix well with the pumpkin cheesecake. Then you need a tablespoon of sugar, just regular sugar. Then 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. It's just regular powdered cinnamon. So the next thing I do is turn on my oven at 350. And what I do, I know a lot of bakers go step by step on every single little item. I just, everything for the crust, once I crumble those Honey Maid graham crackers, I just pour everything in there together, the vanilla extract, the sugar, the butter, and I just whip it up, all of it. And I just do it really by hand. I do all of that by hand, and then you're gonna get a cookie sheet. Make sure you can put foil paper on top of the cookie sheet. Put the spring foam cake pan on there. It's a 9-inch. This is for a 9-inch one. So put that on there, and then put your crust and just like gently press it down to the thickness that you want. If you want a thicker crust and you like thicker crust, then I would double the recipe and put it on there, because then you put some like on the sides as well with your hand like that, and just make sure that you have it to how you want it. If you want it halfway, if you want the whole thing, it just depends. Then once that's done, you place it. Oh, and you could use foil or parchment paper on the bottom of it. The reason for the cookie sheet and then that on there plus the spring foam is just so when you're baking it, nothing falls down into your oven, because then it's a very mess to get it cleaned up. So I place it in the oven at 350, 20 to 30 minutes. Put your timer. After that, while that's cooking, you do your mixture. You put your Philadelphia cream cheese in there, and then of course what I do, since it's already thawed out, I take it out the night before or the day before when I'm gonna make one. Then I just put in the cheesecake mix, or the cream cheese, I'm sorry, the cream cheese in there. I put in the brown sugar, and then I put in all the other ingredients, which is the pumpkin pie mix and the eggs and the sour cream, the flour, and the vanilla extract. Everything together, and I just whip it up with a blender. Now, when you're mixing it, just make sure that you're mixing, and once you pick up the blender and the texture looks kind of thick, but not too thick, and also no lumps. It tastes so much better without lumps. You cannot have any lumps on it, please. So then after that, what I do is I pour the mixture. Well, once the crust is out in 30 minutes, you take it out of the oven, let it cool down at least 10 to 15 minutes before you add the mixture in there. Once the mixture's in there, then you put it back in the oven and you put your timer at 1 hour at 350 degrees. Leave it alone for 1 hour. Make sure nobody's like, if you have an older house where kids could be walking, if you have young children, make sure they're not running by there, because then it'll flatten the cheesecake and it won't be that big, thick, real creamy, juicy one. So once an hour hits that the timer goes off, turn it off, leave it in the oven for another hour. Just let it stand there by itself for an hour. Put the timer back on, but turn off the oven. Once that's completed, then you take out the whole pie, put it on top of the oven if you want to on your range, and just leave it there for 2 to 3 hours until it is cooled down completely. Once it's cooled down completely, what I like to do is get a piece of foil paper, put it on top, make sure everything's covered, and with the cookie sheet and everything, I put it in my fridge. Once you put it in your fridge, you should leave it at least 2 to 3 hours before serving, but I love to leave it overnight, and if possible, overnight, another day, another night, and then serve it the next day. For some reason, I found that the cheesecakes always have a texture that's so much better after 2 to 3 days in the fridge, and then you serve it. But it's totally up to the person. Um, Usually I do that like for Thanksgiving for families. I always make, I do the same recipe but in cupcakes for the adults and then small little miniature cupcakes for the children. And then of course the big pies I do them like either for family events or to sell or whatever. So then after all of this is done, let's say the next day you're gonna enjoy your pizza pie. You take it out, the pumpkin cheesecake, take out everything from the fridge, unspring the spring foam cake pan, make sure that around the edges, it's not stuck. It shouldn't be stuck anymore because you've already had it in the fridge. But you can get a rubber spatula and just like go in there like this, around trying to like get it away from the spring foam pan. Once you do that, you'll have an amazing, like thick pumpkin cheesecake that you can serve to your family and friends. And right before serving, what I do is I get some of that ready mix Cool Whip, just because the actual other Cool Whip, it takes time to put it in a bag and put it on there and everything, but you can do it either way, however you want to. And I just take the can and I cut the piece off, put it in a little plate, and then just, do the ready whip on top. Just pour a little bit, and then just to give it a look and a little bit of flavor, add it on. For the people that like cinnamon, I have a little can of just powdered regular cinnamon from Walmart, those $1 cans from the seasoning aisle. And you just sprinkle a little bit on top, and it just gives it that little extra touch to where it looks real nice, and then you can enjoy it with your family and friends. Also with the cupcakes, if you're gonna be serving cupcakes, on the cupcake right before you give it to anybody, if they want whipped cream, it's up to them. Or if they just want the pumpkin cheesecake, some people don't like Cool Whip or whipped cream. And then you just put the whipped cream on there, make it like a little swirl, and then add cinnamon if they would like cinnamon on there. So this was my informative speech on how to bake a cake step by step. I took one of my recipes that I've done for years and years, but there's so many more that you can do or you can try. You can put chocolate in it. That's the whole good thing about baking. You can just whip up anything you like and put it in the oven and see how it comes out. And if it doesn't come out good, well, try another recipe another time or tweak it and see how that comes out. I also make carrot cakes from scratch and regular cheesecakes and the strawberry toppings and everything, but I just love to bake. So, and I really don't eat my baking. I'll taste it from time to time, but everybody else does. So I just enjoy people eating my baking and saying that it was delicious. To me, that means a lot. So that's how I bake a cake step by step. Thank you very much for your time. Have a good day.